Now, where did the name Canvasback come from?
That's the name of a duck, a migratory duck. Both are often named after birds, and this is a migratory bird that
sails from north to south.
yeah. So it seemed an appropriate name for
because
the
that's
boat,
what we were
and it
going to be
became the name
doing,
for the mission.
going from California or from Oregon all the way over to the Marshall Islands and coming back and forth.
A little bit warmer down here in the
Oh,
boat.
yes.
Feels a little nicer.
It's nicer to get the
Now,
coat off.
this is kind of tiny in comparison to this brand new, 71 foot? 71 foot catamaran, or trimaran actually. So
catamaran.
you've got
It was a
lots of,
it was a catamaran.
it was a catamaran. So lots of space though.
Yes.
Huge ship. How many people did it take to really sail that thing?
Well, we had 4 in the ship's crew, 4 in the medical team, and 4 in the dental team. We had 6 cabins, 6 double stateroom cabins.
To tell me about your first mission to the islands.
Oh, our first mission when we sailed the Canvasback all the way to Majuro, and we were assigned to go to a little atoll called Malolap. And we went to Malolap and worked on an island, had about 100 people on the little island of Ira. And we saw every man, woman, child. We did medical clinic, did dental clinic, and as we were packing up, we saw this man who had been standing in the corner of the room, and he had a rag over his face, and we went over to him to see what was wrong, and he had an abscess the size of a golf ball. He had been in pain for over a year, but never occurred to him that there was any possibility that he could have relief from that pain. So our doctors immediately took out what they needed, and they gave him the medicines, took care of him, and he was pain-free. You know.
See, I'm glad you shared that story, because really that's what Canvasback is all about. Is Jesus went through villages and healed everybody. If you're sick, you can't focus on eternal things, can you?
That's right.
So really, you're the seed planters. You're the ones who removes the pain and can point them towards heaven, and then God can continue to work in their heart.
Right. And you know what was so neat was the queen of the island came out to us and said, what are all you people doing on my island? And Jamie and I said, well, you know, we're here because Christian people who believe in God, have sent us here to help your people. I had never heard of anything like that before.
So the two of you were really hooked on mission. Now this has really got you going.
Oh, yes. We were there because Jesus had called us there.
When we left her island, she said, on the behalf of the people of my island, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
How many years ago was that?
Oh, that was in 1987. Is when that was about, I don't know.
Canvasback has been going a long time now.
Yes, it has.
Tell me, why would you ask people, or I know you do, why do you ask people to support this ministry, which is an amazing ministry?
Because it really helps people. It impacts the lives. It changes the lives of people. It removes suffering from people that really don't have any other hope, any other source.
The very poorest person here in the U.S., lives like a king in comparison to the people out in the islands.
In the outer islands.
I've seen some of those people, $10, $20, maybe $30 a month is their pay. And they have no chance of any medical help whatsoever.
No chance of any medical help at all.
Now this coming year, you're looking at taking how many teams?
10 missions.
10 missions. Now, for folks who don't know, you've switched now from taking people on boats to taking them by plane. How come you made the switch?
We finished the work that we set out with the catamaran. The catamaran medical ship was the world's largest two-masted sailing catamaran. It still is. She's still working for doing oceanographic work with another organization. She was built with volunteers entirely. 200 volunteers worked on the boat before she was finished. We saw so many miracles in the building of that boat. But we set out to help establish an outer island dispensary system in the Marshall Islands, where there are 60 outer islands, and they're separated sometimes by 300 miles of oceans. You think of the logistics. There's small populations. The most populated island had about 1,500 people on it. The smallest about 200. How are you going to provide medical care over a wide expanse of scattered islands in the ocean like that? Well, the outer island dispensary system is the answer. You have a health assistant who has some medical training. You have a little hut for him with shelves and some medicines, and you have a single sideband radio so that he can talk to a doctor back on the main island of Majuro. That's an outer island dispensary system. He has some medicines, he has a means of communication with the doctor, he has some way to get his medicines supplied. That's what we helped to build, and once that was operating, we'd really done the work that the medical ship was built for.
And I notice you've really changed somewhat in what you do. You've really gone to, a lot of it is training staff and people on the island so they can help their own people.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and surgical teams, and we couldn't do surgery on the medical ship. So our programs outgrew the Canvasback. And then the very first president of the Marshall Islands asked Jamie and me to help develop a diabetes reversal program for the Marshall Islands. Diabetes is the #1 killer in the Marshall Islands, and the president saw that the very best, his brightest leaders were succumbing to diabetes, and he wanted us to develop a program to do that.
Now, some people are going to say, diabetes reversal, you can't reverse diabetes.
In fact, when we got a grant from the Department of Defense, and at our very first product line review, our governing board, one of the scientists came up and he heard what we were going to do, that we were going to successfully change the lifestyle.
And right there in front of the entire review board, all these scientists that were critiquing our work, he said, I want to give you my condolences in advance because those people will never change.
And then what happened a year later?
A year later, we went to product line review again, which means we stand and present before a board of scientists. He apologized for his comments when he saw the results of our work.
God has been with your work.
Amen. Yes, he has.
Again, I guess I get back to a question I'm not certain was totally answered for me. Why should people support this mission? The devil doesn't need an advocate, so I'm not going to be his advocate, but some might watch and think, oh, these islands are small and the populations are small. We need to help somebody else.
Yeah, that's a factor. It's not reaching big masses of people like going to India, but who's going to reach these people? Aren't they worth reaching?
And they are.
And they're the most isolated people in the world. The people of these tiny islands of Micronesia, the most forgotten and isolated people in the world. Many people I talk to don't know, have never heard of the Marshall Islands or Micronesia, and yet they're an American protectorate, and they were, after the Second World War, they were an American territory. The U.S. flag flew out there. We have a connection and responsibility, and yet they are forgotten, and they're without hope on many islands.
But they're not forgotten by God, are they?
They are
Not
just as
forgotten.
precious
God
to
sent
God.
you guys.
That's right. They are just precious people, very special people. You know, when we talk about Micronesia, I thought you might want to know. Micronesia spans the area of the United States. If you were to look in the ocean, you would see an area of Micronesia of the United States. But if you were to squish all those islands together, it would have a landmass of less than Rhode Island.
Wow, so they span probably 750,000 square miles, but all put together, not much.
It's
But
mostly ocean. The islands are very small, very tiny islands.
but God knows the hairs on their head. They're all
That's right.
numbered too. So He called you guys to go.
Mhm.
But it doesn't happen alone. You have to spend money to get these teams, to get all these people out there. It costs money.
That's right. That's right. To send a surgical team, we fill up a container, a 40-foot container of all the supplies and equipment that's needed to provide surgeries for 2 weeks, and that requires a lot.
People really would be shocked at the logistics of putting these teams together. It's not like a casual medical team, a mission trip that a church would send out. It takes months of advance work, and an ocean container, a 40-foot ocean container, has to go on a ship and get out there before we do. Someone has to be responsible for it when it arrives. All of our physicians have to be licensed in the countries where they practice. There's a lot of logistics to make this work.
Jimmy, maybe I can give our viewers a little idea. When you think of a 40-foot container, since we just moved across the country, virtually you could put 2 entire households of furniture almost in a 40-foot container.
Yes.
So that's a lot of stuff for a 2-week period for these people to work.
That's what it takes to support a 2-week surgery team. That's what it takes in the hospitals here, but people don't see that coming.
It's called trigger finger. The fingers of the hand lock into position like pulling a trigger. This can be a problem for a teacher who needs to be on the computer all the time. Rosalinda even saved her money and went off island 2 different times to visit doctors in other countries. No relief. 4 long years and no answers. But then the Canvasback orthopedic super team arrived on the island. They did the needed surgery on both hands. In just a short time, she was as good as new. This is just one of the thousands of stories of lives that have been drastically changed by Canvasback missions. Because of the lack of certain medical specialties, people sometimes suffer for decades with no relief. But you can change all of that. Your gifts to Canvasback can help stop their suffering. Simply log on to canvasback.org. Kazumi was about 7 years old when she experienced ear infections in both ears. Her mother took her to the doctors, but they couldn't seem to clear up the infections. A couple of years passed and she began to lose some hearing. Her family saved up all the money they could and took her to another country looking for help. But all of the doctor's attempts failed. 2 more years passed, and Kazumi had lost most of her hearing. Her classmates tried to compensate by talking louder or standing in front of her directly so she could read their lips. Then a Canvasback ENT super team arrived and did surgery on both ears. Kazumi's hearing was restored. For almost 4 decades, Canvasback has been changing hearts and lives 1 miracle at a time. But your financial help is needed to keep this important work going. If you would like to volunteer or be a financial partner, log on to canvasback.org.
Now, what's really great is you'd shared with me, Jackie, I believe, the amount of money that it really grows. A mission dollar becomes, what, $1,000 in how it produces results.
That's right.
It's amazing. It's first, of course, the grace of God and the power of volunteerism, the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of medical supplies that are donated multiply the giver's dollar. Supporters of this mission, for every dollar that they invest, they get a 1,200% return on investment. Now, where can you invest and get a 1,200% return? I'd go for that.
I'd like to find that place,
Yeah, I
but
would
we
go
have.
for that.
It's right here, Canvasback Mission.
Yeah, so that's, your dollars given to Canvasback multiply greatly. And they save lives, they change lives.
1 miracle at a time.
1 miracle at a time.
Amen.
In one trip, we can give sight to 200 blind people through eye surgery. And every time you give a blind person sight, of course you give him his life back, but you give someone else's life back too. The care person that had to lead the blind one around.
At least one care person, sometimes probably more than that.
Family. You
Yeah.
change a person's life and you change an entire family.
Canvasback provides over $500,000 worth of care within 2 weeks' time. And that's pretty exciting. We have teams that will go out and they work hard. They give 110% of their effort to provide the very best care.
I think I was able to see one surgeon, he did retinal surgery on a person. He says, you know, in the United States, that's about a $12,000 surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Here's to a person who makes $20 or $30 a month, maybe 50 if they're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, they see again, they have a surgery they could never afford in their entire lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
but God has worked through Canvasback to make it happen for them,
Mm-hmm.
to give sight to the blind again.
Right.
Can you imagine 200 people led into the clinic blind by their caregivers and walking out praising God? I
Saying
can see.
hallelujah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think about the little boy who was pointing upward. You told me this story, Jackie, pointing upward.
Robus was saying he was born blind, and we were able to do surgery on him. And after his surgery, he pointed up there and said, "There is only one God," because that little boy had been praying with his mama since he was able to, praying for his sight.
Amen. Amen. You'd mentioned that United States official, I believe, had challenged you and said, forget it, it'll never happen, you can't reverse diabetes. But then you came back and the next year you said, wow, you're doing it. We really didn't touch on that. I know you started a wellness center. Extrapolate, unpack that for me.
Canvasback received a grant through the Department of Defense to prove that through lifestyle medicine, diabetes could be reversed in the populations in the Marshall Islands, where diabetes, well, it has the worst epidemic of diabetes in the world is happening there. And it largely goes untreated, and it ends in amputations, blindness, renal failure, and death. It's a very serious disease.
Number one killer in most of
It
the
is
islands.
the number one killer in the Marshall Islands and in other parts of Micronesia.
And to establish a program like this on a coral atoll, where the tallest thing on the island is the coconut tree, and the soil is like living in coral rubble. It's virtually impossible to grow food there.
It's hard to grow good food there, so we have to teach special techniques because they can't afford imported food. You've spoken of the poverty there. The only hope they have of the healthy food that they need to prevent and reverse diabetes is to grow it themselves. And that's part of what we teach. Through this grant, we built a wellness center that still operates. It was built for the purpose of doing scientific research for 3 years to prove or disprove that diabetes could be reversed in this population through lifestyle. Lifestyle simply meant diet and exercise, and faith was a part. Faith in God was an important part of our program there. And this scientist on the review board that said it couldn't be done was responding to the actual data from that research when he saw scientific data that it was done. And of course, he felt compelled to apologize for his comments then.
Now the Wellness Center is growing in its kind of tentacles and reach too, isn't it?
Yes, we have just developed the first physical education program for kindergarten through 8th grade. So exciting, and we've placed playgrounds on all the schools, all the elementary schools, and gardens there. It's so exciting because we recognize that if we're really going to reverse diabetes, we have to teach the children. Those kids are the ones who really drive their parents on what they want to eat, And normally, before they have been taught this, most kids eat raw ramen with Kool-Aid powder poured on top of it, and that's a real cheap, delicious breakfast.
Cool.
Perfect for diabetes, for
I
starting
understand the
out.
barbecues aren't too much better there either.
That's right. That's right.
Turkey tails.
Turkey
are
tails.
The favorite for
When I first
barbecue.
heard turkey tails, I thought I heard it incorrectly.
Yeah, they get.
It's got to be the only place in the world that they import turkey tails.
Yeah. Yeah.
How bad can that be for you? Just a chunk of fat.
So, and then the other outreach that we have is to reach out to the high-risk diabetic patients. Many of them who are at home, who can't even come to the wellness center because they have amputation, or their family members can't help support to get them there. So we go to their homes and see, what do you need? What to make you successfully reverse diabetes?
So you got neighborhood visitation
to
teams.
Neighborhood visitation team. Do you need? We need to help you establish a garden, and then once you have this strange food that you're growing that you're not used to eating, we need to teach you how to eat that and how to cook those foods.
And you're getting requests now from other islands to please help us.
That's right.
This is one diabetes reversal clinic in all of Micronesia, on the Marshall Islands. It has gained fame throughout the jurisdictions and the islands of the Pacific. It's well known that diabetes is being reversed, not just in the individuals who are reversing their diabetes, but reversing the epidemic of diabetes in the entire nation. And other nations want it.
I saw firsthand, we were there, and all of a sudden a senator comes looking for Jacque and finds, please help us. We're in crisis. And this is from another island.
Yes.
So
we have many requests to bring this kind of care to other islands.
bottom line, you could help if you had the funds.
That's right.
That's all
That's all it takes. We have requests for us to send out more surgical teams. I said we were going to do 10 next year. We have the ability to send out more, but we don't have the funds to do
Because the needs are definitely there.
that. Oh, needs are really there.
Let me explain it this way with the surgery teams. We are the specialists. The little hospitals mostly have just primary care. So if a person needs specialty care, if he's blinded by cataracts, if he has worn out joints, can't walk, was crippled, bedridden, there is no specialist there. We are the specialists. We are the hope.
Gynecology too.
Gynecology and ENT, ear problems, everything.
Canvasback
I had one of the
is the hope.
doctors at the hospital say, we have nothing for the women. We have no women's health programs.
That's right.
That would, in the United States, nobody would ever put up with such a thing.
Oh,
But you're helping fill that
Or
great
the
need.
dental programs, the children with bombed out, rotten mouths. We wouldn't have that in the United States. It would not be tolerable.
Yeah.
So when you say, why should people help? Because God has given us so much. He has blessed us to be born in this country, that we can be able to share those talents and those gifts that He's given us with people in Micronesia. And for every dollar that they give, they are going to get $1,200, 1,200%
Return on investment.
on investment.
Phenomenal mission return on your dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. Guys, it has been a real pleasure to sit with you today and hear some of the Canvasback story. I know there's a lot more because I understand you're writing a book too, so we can't
That's
wait
right.
for that.
Thank you, Jim.
My husband and I founded the Ministry of Canvasback Missions 38 years ago to serve the island nations of the Pacific. From those humble beginnings, our medical and dental super teams have been changing lives and bringing hope to so many people. Our teams volunteer their time and resources, and all of our services are free, but it does take funding to make it all happen. That's where you come in. Your financial support is needed. Please join us in changing lives, one miracle at a time.
If you'd like to partner with us, you can write us at 940 Adams Street, Suite R, Benicia, California, 94510. Or you can log on to canvasback.org. Call us at 707-746-7828. And thank you for watching. Please join us again for another exciting adventure. Remember, Canvasback is making an impact, one miracle at a time.